Today on MuscleCar, it's all about Alter Ego. Our 64 Comet takes a ride in the Wayback Machine with a 60s style drag racer paint job. We even get a helping hand from one of Ed Roth's original artists.
Hey guys, welcome to MuscleCar. I gotta admit, lately, the Comet's been a little neglected, but today, that's gonna change. Because for the next half hour, Alter Ego here is gonna be front and center, getting a brand new Air Correct paint job.
Getting the Comet ready for a splash of color and a bunch of shine has been one long road. But by the end of the day, this thing's gonna look better than $1 million. And we got a surprise guest today. That's a good friend of mine. It's got some pretty cool history.
I'm Gary Miser. I do automotive illustration, I do custom painting and pinstriping, and I do graphic art for people for t-shirts. My hero is Ed Roth, and I love the Rat Fiend character and the monsters and the cars. And I met Ed Roth in 1988. He goes, "Have you ever drawn Rat Fiend?" And I says, "Have I ever drawn Rat Fiend?" I says, "I've been drawn since 9 years old." And then that's when I started doing the Rat Fiend art for him until he passed away in 2001. I'm a self-taught artist. I never had anybody really to teach me because nobody wanted to give away their trade secrets. So I just picked up a brush, and that's what started it all.
And Gary's not here just for audio input either. Before this paint job's done, he's gonna have a brush in his hand. Now these paint jobs are known for bright colors and graphics that run from one panel to the next. So before we lay anything out, we need to get everything lined up.
She's gonna be a wheel stander with a cutting edge mod motor, but the Comet will also sport a 60s drag racing exterior, right down to some Mr. Gasket hood pins. Not a whole lot to putting in a set of hood pins. All it needs is a hole, tighten up to 2 jam nuts, you're good to go.
Looks like we may have some floppage back here on the tail end, but I wanted to put something across this cowl to kind of keep it stiff anyways.
Pretty much just build like a bridge for it, so you mount this into it.
After marking where the pins go, I'll punch a few holes in the hood, and we should be all set. If it's off, you get to fill the holes.
It's time to bring Gary in so we can get our game plan together, what this thing's gonna look like.
Well, I've been studying the cars, so I've been looking at it. I've been thinking, well, what are we gonna do with this?
Yeah.
And I see candy fades, and I see pinstriping.
What would plant this in the era that we're going for is basic panel painting with the fades on it. I don't know if we do like a silver inset and then fade it in, or just forget the flake and just stick with the heavier pearls. Or
Flake is hard to do, especially if you're wanting to do the big boat flake.
yeah,
It's a lot of time involved.
Well, the big boat flake is what I really want to do.
Yeah,
on this
it
thing.
looks good.
These things scream flake, whether it's in the lettering of it or a graphic or something. I mean, I just really believe that it should have some flake on it.
I know on a lot of the old gassers, they made it look like a rocket in here.
So we're gonna do
A lot of work.
a lot of work. And we'll mask off the panels, do the blue candy on it, pinstripe, do the
Yep.
Alter Ego logos, and it'll look awesome.
Sure will.
Man, it's
gonna look
better
good.
than awesome.
It's
Come
going to
on.
twinkle, like you said.
That's right.
Get out your sunglasses. Rick's throwing metal flake at the Comet like there's no tomorrow. Plus, Gary shows us how they hand painted back in the day.
All right, to bring you guys up to speed, we got all our body panels mounted and adjusted, the body final sanded. Now we're ready to hose on some sealer.
But first we gotta get this dude masked up. That means covering up everything that we don't want to get paint on.
A poor masking job can lead to a ton of extra work when you have to either remove the overspray or repaint the surface you didn't want painted in the first place. A nice paint job starts right here.
All right, time to put the sealer down. I'm laying down a DP50, which is a gray sealer. This will reduce the coats of silver that I have to lay on it, and the less coats at this point, the better, because there's gonna be a lot of material going on this car. Metallic paint will really highlight any imperfections in your surface, so the sealer needs to be as smooth as glass. As I said earlier, we are going to flake this car, but it's not quite ready yet. So we're going to lay down a silver for a background, because the silver is going to help us fill in with the flake a lot easier, so we don't have to put down quite as much. We're using what's known as a flake buster to apply the big metal flakes to Altered Ego. I'm also mixing in some small flakes to the first coat of clear to add another layer of sparkle. We're ready to rock. The clear goes on first, acting as an adhesive for the big flakes I'll be firing at it. Then while it's still wet, I hit it with the flake buster. Now, Brian at Auto Body Color and Supply came through for us with the metal flakes along with all the materials we're throwing at Altered Ego today.
This thing is swimming in flakes. Some people would be happy with this, but we ain't done yet. Another layer of clear will lock in the sparkle. And let us get to work knocking down the rough edges. But the DA won't get in all the nooks and crannies. Whose idea was it to flake this? I just really believe that it should have some flake on it. Okay, what we're trying to do is re-level the surface. The flake is actually poking through, which you'll be able to see it in the candy. So we've got to get all this leveled back down so we can start that next process. Luckily, Gary's not afraid to pick up a piece of sandpaper and get his butt to work.
So what are we there, 49? Okay, right there. What we're doing here is measuring the letter to find the center of it, because we're getting ready to spray the candy on the door from here to here, right? We're gonna fade candy gold in here for the altered letters, and then we're gonna go in here and do this solid green candy on Ego.
So what do you think it's gonna look like?
It's gonna look good.
Yeah?
Yes, sir, it's gonna have glow with all that flake popping underneath it.
Shoot you.
Yeah, buddy.
Still ahead, the arsonist sets Altered Ego on fire. And Gary's got a few tricks up his sleeve. Wait till you see what he can do.
Hey guys, welcome back. You can see we got clear over the candy. It's not looking like a whole lot yet, but this is the base colors for what will eventually be the Altered Ego logo. Now is the fun part. We actually get to start laying out the graphics. Looks like Gary's already got a head start on me here.
A lot of guys will take and just do a little bit at a time. You want to steer this tape with a length on it so you'll have a good straight line.
So I shouldn't be doing it like this?
No, Rick.
Really?
I don't think that's what you want.
How far is that, dude? The layout stuff right here and the brainstorming that we're doing, that's what makes this car look like what it's gonna look like. The spraying is just spraying. It's the taping, it's the layout that really dictates the overall feel of the car.
Now you're just gonna pinstripe the outside edge?
I wanted to leave this part right here in the trunk lid open for doing like sponsorship name or something. This is a good chance to bounce ideas off of Gary. I'm thinking kind of run the fade all the way around.
Yeah, I think you're right. That would finish that detail. That would kind of give this a little shape to it. Being white, baby blue around that, yeah, that really looked good.
If you look, I'm actually laying this line just on the outside of the roll of the body line. And that makes it a lot easier to come back later with a pinstripe and lay a stripe down over the top. If you put it right on that edge, then your brush is always wanting to walk off the sides as you're trying to pull a line. So bring it up onto your flat surface just a little bit, and when you pinstripe, you can go over the top of the line that's on a more flat surface. Makes it a lot easier to stripe it.
And what we're doing is smoothing this out to lay the lettering down. And then after I get it all smoothed out and laid down, I'll have a transfer paper where I can pencil out the lettering for each letter, and then I've got to come back and hand cut each one of the letters out. And when we peel that back, the lettering will just be masked on there, and we can shoot the white, and we'll be ready to roll.
Now, time to live up to my nickname, the Arsonist. It looks a little confusing, but it's really not if you look at it. You just have to pay attention to positive and negative space. This look right here that I pulled up is actually going to be kind of weaving through there almost like a snake, down underneath and back over and back down underneath and come back up and around. It's going to make it just a completely three-dimensional, especially when all the drop shadows and stuff go in over the top of the flake with the candy. This is going to be hot. To make a mirror image of the flames, I use a pants wheel and dust carbon onto the opposite side to make my pattern. I like doing it this way because any slight variation in symmetry is going to be easily seen. Now once it's all masked up, Alter Ego is finally ready for some color. I'm fading multiple layers of blue candy onto the edges that we taped off. It gets more vibrant with each coat. And before long, boom goes the dynamite.
Next, it's the big reveal. Alter Ego is ready for the dance. You're watching MuscleCar. For a DVD copy of this episode, just go to PowerBlockTV.com and order your copy for just $5.95 plus shipping and handling. Start your own MuscleCar collection, delivered right to your door from the PowerBlock.
Well guys, we got all the candy down. Kind of get an idea of what the overall design here is going to look like. And stay tuned, because once we get all this thing unmasked, we get to remask it. Yay.
Looking like a drag car now.
You know, right now the flames look kind of two-dimensional, but just wait till we get them all shadowed and pinstriped and buried into the clear, and they're going to look like they're about 10 miles deep. All right, now I need to reverse the mask and cover up all the blue that we just laid down. That's really good to know your materials, because things may not be happy underneath other things. A good example of this is candy. Candies will bleed through just about anything that you put on over the top of it. So that's why we did all the flake first and then laid down all the candy. Now we're going to mask the candy off to lay down the white. If we tried to put white over the top of this blue, it would bleed through and we would have a whole bunch of really ugly baby blue bled through white, which is not cool. We're using a 1684 toner on this car, which is a pure white with no added colors. The outright flatness is definitely old school. For this mid coat, I'm going to bust out some pearl. It'll keep the look authentic and give it a little bit of extra pop as well. And it's time for the big reveal, but we're not done yet. Now it's time to do the drop shadows on the flames and kind of break up this massive silver a little bit. So I'm not going to be spraying a lot out of the airbrush, but I don't want to do that overspray to get on my white. So I'm just going to do a quick mask over that. The shadowing adds a lot of depth to the fire, giving it a more three-dimensional appearance. One more coat of clear really brings out the shine and helps all that flake come alive. Well guys, we're all done in the booth. It's time to lay down some lines. Now pay attention to Gary over there, because that dude's been striping for about as long as I've been alive, and he just may learn you something.
It's all right to make mistakes. Don't worry about it, because believe me, I've made mistakes all through the years, and I've been doing this 35 years. So get out there and get you a brush and start doing it.
We're coming into the home stretch now. All of the brushed on graphics go on as the final touch. Now Gary's got this 60s style lettering down. It's a real trip to watch. He's also dreamed up a few custom logos for us. And of course, he's doing them all by hand. Now this is what it looks like to watch a true master at work. Leonardo who? I'm working on pulling lines all over the place. A lot of these cars had miles of stripe on them. We thought a few of our friends deserved a mention too. And these guys helped bring this whole thing together. Hey, we couldn't have built this car without them. Oh man, take a look. After some fitting, sanding, sealer, base, little flake, big flake, clear, sanding again, candy, more base, mid-coat with pearl, airbrushing, more clear, pinstriping, outlining, logoing, and sign painting, this is what we've got.
Gary's adding a personal touch with a couple of custom logos for me and Rick. Man, I wish I could paint like that.
If you guys have any questions about anything you saw on the show today, or if you just want to see some more of Gary's work, hop on over to PowerblockTV.com and check it out.
Yeah, and big thanks to Gary for showing us how they did it back in the day.
No problem, bro.
Well guys, this has been a fun project, but we're out of time. So until next time, we're out of here.